Welcome to Anything Cricket. Let's talk.
My special guest today is Roy Singh, and Roy is the captain of the West Indies Masters over 60 side, which will be competing in the Caribbean Cup starting in just a few days. Roy, welcome to Anything Cricket. Let's talk.
Thank you, Philip. It's good to be here.
I believe you took part in the over 50s competition that ended recently.
Correct. Yeah, I participated with the West Indies over 50 team and in the last Caribbean Cup held in Barbados in November.
Yeah, and how did that go?
Well, that went fairly well overall. Unfortunately, we couldn't control the weather. So that really curtailed quite a few of the games. And of course, the conditions, the wickets were wet. A couple of fields were so soggy that we couldn't even play on it. I mean, literally, you were walking on the ground and the water was coming up. So that was too bad. It would have been a much better tournament if we didn't have so much rain, but that's beyond our control. But overall, the tournament went fairly well.
Well, I kind of agree with you because I saw a number of the matches. In fact, I saw all the matches in which the West Indies team participated, and I can tell you it was an experience for me. I enjoyed it. I do appreciate and agree with your comments regarding the weather. But when there was cricket, I can tell you I enjoyed it immensely from beyond the boundary. All right, and this is over 60s competition, so no prizes for anyone guessing that you are more than 60. So tell us, how did you get involved in this whole thing? 60 years old, you're playing cricket with a red ball, somebody at the other end trying to knock you to that kingdom come. How do you get involved in this?
Yeah, that's actually a really great question. I mean, myself, like most cricketers, pretty much gave up any real serious first class aspirations when you're 30s, right? I mean, you're starting to get a little older, the younger guys are coming in, and you really stop playing any of those big matches and trying to make national teams. So you continued on, and fortunately for myself, we owned our own private cricket ground. So for 24 years, we had phenomenal facilities and phenomenal games, and we played about 24 matches a year, and that was pretty much the extent of it. And that ground was owned and it was located in Canada. And my brother Bart Singh basically was the one that basically built the ground. It was rated one of the best grounds in all of North America, and sadly, he sold it about 5 years ago. So what happened with 5 years ago, I was kind of lost, thought I was finished playing cricket. And then what happened, one of the touring teams that we were involved with, Occidental Cricketers, basically got together with Sterling Hammond out of Australia and Jim Morrison out of New Zealand. And they came up with this concept of Masters cricket, and it was only over 50 at that point. I got wind of it, and Canada at that time was invited to participate in a tournament. So Canada held trials, and fortunate I was able to make it onto a team. What happened there is that we end up winning the plate final. It was a fairly successful tournament, but the West Indies was not part of that. And I thought that was a mistake that the West Indies has a part to play, especially when you're looking at the age of the guys that we're at. Well, if you back me up 30 years, we were the best in the world. So naturally, I felt that West Indies had to be part of this. So I encouraged Raj Singh, who's the president of our association, our chairman, to basically see if he could field a team. And he jumped on that idea and basically, as part of the process, invited me to participate and come on board with the West Indies, which I was happy to do because I'm Guyanese. So I'm very happy to go back to my roots and to the Caribbean and be able to play with my fellow players.
I guess some people are wondering, especially young people who nowadays tend to write off others from the time you're 30 years old in this modern life. So basically, what really motivates you guys? I mean, you did give some indication of it by talking about, reaching in your 30s and the aspirations are not the same. How difficult it is really to keep yourself motivated and to have that enthusiasm, that competitiveness that I saw back in November. How easy it is or how difficult is it to maintain that?
Well, that's probably the best question that you could ask. What I have seen, and because I've been experienced in several of the World Cup, I played in the 2018, I played in the canceled one in 2020 in South Africa, I played in the over 60 in Australia. I've met a lot of players all across the world. And in 2018, when that first tournament started out, we played against Wales, and Wales largely had cricketers that were out of shape, completely out of shape. Even England, the cricketers were out of shape. They just weren't, they were good cricketers. You could see that they had a real good base, but fitness wasn't there. And then fast forward to the next tournament. Oh my God, it's just a complete change. All these players started focusing, training, dieting, eating properly, really focusing on their fitness level, their health. Some of the guys I've seen, 2 years later lost 20, 25, 30 pounds, and he looked 10 years younger. It's just amazing what has transpired in the sports. And because a lot of us live a sedentary lifestyle where we're not active, this gives us motivation as we get older to get out there and play. And we're playing age-appropriate cricket. And that's the other thing. I don't want to play against 20-year-olds. 20-year-olds, it's just too difficult. I remember when I was 20 and I ran the old guys into the ground. Well, guess what? It's payback time, and they're doing the same thing to us. But to play over 50 cricket, it's amazing. And then what's happening is that we're finding the guys that were phenomenal cricketers in their 20s and 30s, and they've stopped playing. They're now coming up against us that never stopped playing. The cricket is actually quite good, as you've experienced. Like that over 50 cricket is actually quite decent for guys that are 50 plus years of age. And that wouldn't have happened a few years ago, but because of these tournaments and these World Cups that are coming up, a lot of players and a lot of teams are taking this a lot more serious. I know myself personally, I train 6 days a week to be able to play at this level and to not injure myself, because that's the biggest thing that you have to deal with when you're older is these injuries. There's always an injury or a nagging little thing that comes up. So it forces me to train so that I am fitter, that I can handle the stress. So there's a lot of benefit. It makes you younger. Ultimately, I'm moving better than I have 8 years ago. 8 years ago, I wasn't moving nearly as well as I'm moving now. Today I've already finished 10,000 steps. I did a 7K run this morning after playing a cricket game yesterday. I couldn't have done that 10 years ago. And that's what this cricket does.
And I think you said you had a golf game somewhere in between there as well. Was it golf that you said
Yeah.
you had to play?
Yeah. So here's my schedule. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sundays, I do a 7K run. After those, I golf 18 rounds of golf. Okay. Tuesdays and Thursdays is in the weight room. Okay. Followed by nets. Nets is not considered exercise, right? Nets is training. You're training for skill, whereas you have to get fit. When you're in the nets, though, I would spend an hour in the nets. I would face 200 plus balls coming off of the machines of various types of machines and various speeds and that sort of thing, because you have to focus. So we treat this as if it's almost a full-time career. The top players, when you're out there batting them, you're playing a 45 over games, you could bat 45 overs. So you have to be fit. I know in Houston last March, I fielded 45 overs in the heat. It was 85 degrees, and then with no humidity, so you don't feel it, but it's very hot. And then I end up batting for 45 overs. Okay,
Oh.
so to be able to handle that.
So you were on the field the entire game virtually.
You got it. I batted at number 3, but we lost a wicket in the first over, so I got on and I batted, and I end up running out of the 209 runs we made in reply, I made 97. I end up running over 160 singles and doubles. Okay. Fitness is just something else, but that's the benefit of this cricket. The cricket's decent, but the fitness and your health is the big beneficiary for you, right? And that's one of the main reasons to do this. Apart from the camaraderie, I mean, these guys from all over, you're getting to know them. You know them by first name. They Facebook you, you stay in contact with them. You've created a whole different group of people to communicate with, to keep you young, to keep you motivated. That's what this cricket does. It's amazing. It also gives our opportunity for us to bring guys that were on the verge of making the West Indies team, but that team was so difficult. Well, they're still out there. The Richard Suchin's coming. Okay, you've got Jordan, the fast bowler from Barbados. He's going to be there, right? So, I mean, these are good cricketers. I played against Jordan 30 something years ago, 31 years ago, and he was fast. Well, you know what? For 64 years of age, this guy still brings it. He was the fastest bowler of all the over 50 players that played in this recent tournament. So, it's very impressive.
Who's this? That was the fastest bowler you're saying?
Was Jordan from Barbados.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah. Very good cricketer.
You know what is coming through to me though, and you're quite right. It's not only about the cricket. The cricket is a big part of it. You love cricket, that's clear, but you love being competitive, and that drives the players then to what we're talking about, healthy lifestyles. There's so much talk nowadays about healthy lifestyles and healthy living and all those sorts of things. And you guys have the ready-made motivation, if that's a meaningful term, to stay healthy and to be healthy and to do the right thing. You're talking about winning the gym at 60 plus years old. And certainly when I was maybe a teenager, early 20s, my concept of a guy 60 plus was that he's virtually done and dusted and just waiting, for the end. Nowadays, there's so much encouragement to play sport. You've got the senior games and that type of thing. And it seems to me as though the cricket is actually doing that, making life more meaningful and more healthy for seniors.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree with you more.
So in terms of the West Indies team, what can we expect when you start this tournament?
Well, I feel that that this West Indies team, the difficulty we have, a lot of the players are spread out all over. So for us to get proper trials and get players involved, it's a little bit more difficult, especially if we're taking them to someplace like Australia or England or India. It's very expensive, right? But because Barbados is like a home game for us, it gives us an opportunity to bring in more of the top local players. So we've got 4 or 5 top local players that will be participating in this. And in my opinion, this is going to be our strongest team that we've been fielding for the over 60. So, we expect to more and look after our own, our own standing and to do very well in this tournament. And we've got some very good players. So, going back from a year ago when we just started out, we had a nucleus of really good players, and then we had a couple 70-year-olds that played with us. They were really good guys and very good cricketers, but there's a difference between a 60-year-old and a 73-year-old. It's 13 years is a lot of years, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this team is much younger. There's a lot more 60-year-olds that have just turned 60 that have played cricket all their lives, that have never stopped, and we feel we're going to have a much stronger team. Likewise, the English team, for example, the Australian team, I've already played against Australia. They're a very good side. And same thing with England. They play a lot of cricket. England, for example, I believe has 35 or 40, 60 plus, over 60 teams. So just imagine this for a second. You need half a player from each team to come up with a good player. So the chances are that half a player on each team will be good. I mean, there's a very, very, very good chance of that, right? So the competition is going to be phenomenal, but we expect the West Indies to do very well in this tournament.
What sort of support do you get, let's say, from stakeholders? I'm talking about sponsors. I'm talking about people who you need to make the cricket happen, umpires, scorers, the people who control the grounds in which you play, the spectators, family. What sort of response do you get from these other stakeholders?
Yeah, that's another good question. To host a tournament in Barbados is very expensive. The Umpire Association are very good. The groundsmen, this last tournament with the wet conditions and everything else, they did the best that they can. They worked tirelessly to try to get these games on. But sadly, they don't have all of the equipment that they need. I've noticed the rollers that they use, they don't have the actual cricket rollers. They have smaller rollers that are pulled behind tractors. They don't have the covers that can cover the run-ups. So one match that we were playing got rained out because the wicket was covered, but the run-ups weren't covered, and it was like mud, right? So, the thing is that Barbados is very expensive. We had a team Wales that were going to come, but because of the economic situation right now in Great Britain, they pulled out because it's expensive to come to Barbados, right? In terms of support, financial support from the government, the tourism, we're not getting any. And that's something that we really
You're saying that,
need.
but I didn't quite get that. You said that the support for tourism, you're not getting that right now.
Yeah, we're not getting any financial support whatsoever. Zero.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, and you have to look at it this way. We love Barbados. In my opinion, Barbados is the best place to host the tournament because you've got the grounds, you generally have the weather, you've got hotels, everything is close by within an hour's drive. You can get to every ground. You've got a lot going for us in Barbados, right? The problem that we have to watch is that these are self-funded. These players are all paying their own way. And if in fact we do raise some money, it's to help out those players that are not as financially well off. Because let's face it, the North American players are probably financially better off. Some are even retired, whereas we're bringing in players from Trinidad or Guyana or Barbados or Jamaica. Well, a lot of these guys are still working. And if they're retired, they don't have the same pensions available as the guys in North America. So what we have to do is we have to try to raise money to help support these guys that can't afford to go in these tournaments. Otherwise, what's going to happen, we're not going to field the best team that's possible. And we want to field the best team. So we need to get as much support as we can. We need the Barbados tourism to really step up and help contribute, because without something being contributed, it may make it very difficult to host a tournament. Now, we did some financials recently, and our projections is that we brought in over $2 million US to the Barbados economy in both of these tournaments coming up. It cost us roughly $36,000 to $45,000 to host each tournament, of which there is zero profit. We are not for profit. We don't make any profit. All the money goes into running the tournaments and covering all the costs. And for the most part, we charge back almost all the money back to the teams that are participating. But we would like to do a little extras. We would love to host the match at the Oval, but we can't afford $7,500 US to host that match there. In my opinion, it would be great.
This is Kansas Noble you're talking about.
Yep. Yes. So we did the last tournament, and we hosted it there, and it was phenomenal. But again, we had to come up with at the last that money, right? It would be nice if somehow that was thrown in as an incentive for the teams to come and play cricket in Barbados. Barbados would benefit from it. We would benefit from it. Other than being able to play in this beautiful facility, there's no other benefit to the players. There's not a financial benefit. But that's just the reality of where we are right now.
From what you're saying, this takes a whole lot of planning. There's a whole lot of money going into it. So while it may look to John Public as though these are some guys, some senior citizens in the 20th of the years simply enjoying themselves, there's obviously a lot more to it than that, and a lot greater investment. So and you address that business side of it. But what I'm going to ask of you now is to share, as a person immersed in this whole thing, you're still immersed in sport at 60 plus. How does that impact family life? To yourself, especially, but also to others that you are aware of who are involved in this cricket?
Well, you know what we've been finding is we're finding that more of the spouses are traveling with us to the different tournaments. If the person can afford it, they try to bring their spouses along. Those people that can't afford it do come. However, what happens is that they rely on their family for support. Their family have to basically support them coming, because what's happening. This tournament's 2 weeks long, right? The tournament in Australia was 3 weeks long. We've got another tournament coming up in South Africa that will be a month long. Well, a lot of these guys don't have more than 3 weeks vacation in the entire year. So for them to basically use up all their time to come play cricket and take away from vacation time that they could spend it with the family, it's a big sacrifice. So it's not just about old guys coming and play cricket. It's a big sacrifice. And for them to make this sacrifice at this stage of life and give up something else, it says something about them. It really does. And the families that support it, it's amazing, because without the family support, the wives and the children, it's just not possible for many of us to do this. But the kids, I know my kids, they love the fact that I'm playing, because they see my enjoyment and what it does. And my wife is amazing. She allows me to do this, and for me to get out there and travel and play and do what I can as long as I can, right?
Well, if we go back, it's great to see that family support. And I suppose, in a sense, it has the potential to even bring families closer together, because if you're on the road, you're traveling, you're touring, that in itself lends to that type of atmosphere. But let's personalize it a bit more, Roy, and take me back to your early days. You alluded to the fact that, like most other cricket lovers, you play some cricket in your early days, and you had personal ambitions. Share some of that history with us and your involvement in cricket way back when.
Yeah, so what happened is in 1969, we immigrated to Canada from Guyana, right? So I was only a 7-year-old boy. My brother was 17 and was a very, very good cricketer, okay, and thought his cricket days were completely over. So he sold all his gears and everything else. What happened was, basically he came to Canada. Next weekend, guess what? He was playing in a cricket match, all right? And as a 7-year-old, basically, I was too young really to play. So I tagged along for a long time. And I would show up at every game at the ground. And if nothing else I could do is I could field. Okay. I remember Faoud Bacchus coming and playing for us at that time. And I was there and I was bowling at him and fielding and that sort of thing. So I finally was able to make the A team. I couldn't bat, I couldn't bowl. Remember, in North America, it's not like the West Indies. Cricket's very much delayed. Our winters are 5, 6 months long. You only play cricket from May to September. So you're really delayed. They didn't have the coaching. The grounds are all on matting with 3-inch high grass. You just didn't have any of that. So you are, in fact, delayed. So it wasn't until I was 16 years of age, and there was a little Guyanese boy that came and just immigrated at that age. And he came and he was batting. And at that time, everything I did was I played across the line. And he shaved me because this boy had a beautiful stroke and his cover drives and everything else. And he embarrassed me to the point where I said, okay, if he could do it, I could do it. So I started playing a lot straighter. And within a couple of years, I was playing for the first team as an opening batsman. And I ended up making the Canadian under-19 team that was going to the preliminary World Cup under-19 in Denmark as their vice captain. So I played along with that. I continued to improve because, again, at my age at 25, when I was playing first division cricket in Canada, it's like a 20-year-old in the West Indies, because you play so much more cricket in the West Indies. But I continued on. But in my mind, I set a date for myself. I said the date was 25 for me to make the Canadian national team. Well, I wasn't good enough at that, but I kind of gave up my aspirations, even though I continued playing first division cricket. But what happened was, from the age of 25 to 35, my cricket went up like this. I just learned a lot more. I learned how to bat better, field better, keep better, bowl better, and my cricket was actually much better. Unfortunately, I'd given it up, and by the time I hit 30, even though I continued to play cricket, I started focusing on business, because I realized business was most important for the family, right? But nevertheless, we continued playing and continued playing. Played a lot of representative cricket, had a lot of fun, had a lot of success. But unfortunately, Canada at that time was ranked number 10th in the world. They were minnow compared to the test teams, but it was still nice to be able to try out. I was very close, but I never made it. I just didn't take it over the top, right?
Okay, so you said you went into business. So what really do you do apart from cricket, if there's time? Because cricket seems, even now, to take up so much of your life.
Yeah, I'm very fortunate. In 1992, we just got serious about business, and I went into the mortgage and real estate business and owned the company. So we had, quite a few agents working for us on both mortgage and real estate business, and did very well. I'm semi-retired now. I'm still a partner in the firm, but fortunately, I don't have to work if I don't want to. My daughter's in the business, so any of my past clients she looks after, and it allows me the opportunity to go out and enjoy life and enjoy cricket, and let her have that business. But in terms of the company, I'm still a partner in the firm. I'm integral, and I help them on the higher level board end of things. So that's kind of what I do.
But you talk about going out and enjoying cricket, and I guess therefore you, no doubt, in fact, you're looking forward to this tournament starting in a few days. And we'll be looking out for the captain of the West Indies side, Roy Singh. You're going to be opening the batting or batting number 3?
Yeah, normally I'd like to stay at number 3. We have a good batting side, but that's really been my position for the last 40 years, is either open or bat number 3. And again, a number 3 batsman is an opening batsman, because if you lose the openers in the first over, guess what? You're facing a new ball. So that's my position. That's where I'm comfortable.
Okay, Roy. Well, it has been great talking to you. You're certainly an inspiration, and you've given us great insight, not only into your personal life in terms of cricket, your business life, but into the whole concept of Masters cricket. So all that's left is for me to wish you well, you and the West Indies team. And in fact, here's hoping that the entire tournament is the type of success that you would want, and that the weather will be a lot kinder to you in this over 60s version than it was in the over 50s.
Thank you, Philip. We're looking forward to coming to Barbados. We're coming there this week, and first match is Saturday. It's a warm-up game against Australia, so it should be a good match. It's going to be held at Pickwick Cricket Club, right? So if anybody could show up for that, we would really appreciate the support. Also, our finals will probably be held at Pickwick, and the top 2 teams will play off for that championship. But what we'd like to have is a Caribbean effect of it all. We want to have a lot of fun. We want as many locals there. It'd be great to have their support. So we'd appreciate if people would come out and support our team.
Okay. So once again, all the best, Roy. You and the team.
All right. Thank you so much.
That's our show. Thanks for watching. Join us again soon for another episode of Anything Cricket. Let's talk.